Tonight, is there an end in sight for the war in Gaza? Hamas finally responding to President Trump's 20-point peace proposal after he gave Hamas until Sunday night to accept, or as he said, all hell would break out. So has Hamas agreed to everything? Well, still a lot of questions there. But the huge headline, Hamas says it will release all of the remaining Israeli hostages, living and dead. That's been a huge sticking point for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ever since the war broke out almost 2 years ago exactly. Hamas also agreeing to, quote, hand over the administration of the Gaza Strip to a Palestinian body of independence based on Palestinian national consensus and Arab and Islamic support. Meanwhile, just within the last hour, President Trump responding to the news with this video.
I want to thank the countries that helped me put this together: Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and so many others. So many people fought so hard. This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down in concrete. Very importantly, I look forward to having the hostages come home to their parents and having some of the hostages, unfortunately, you know the condition they're in, come home likewise to their parents, because their parents wanted them just as much as though that young man or young woman were alive. So I just want to let you know that this is a very special day, maybe unprecedented in many ways. It is unprecedented. But thank you all, and thank you all to those great countries that helped. We were given a tremendous amount of help. Everybody was unified in wanting this war to end and seeing peace in the Middle East. And we're very close to achieving that. Thank you all, and everybody will be treated fairly.
And joining us now is NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel. Richard, Hamas also seems to be saying that they are ready to start meeting immediately to iron out the details. Do you see any sticking points ahead here?
There are always going to be sticking points. There are many logistics that need to be worked out. Hamas didn't address all 20 of the points in President Trump's peace plan, but it did agree to the main ones. It did agree to the key principles that Hamas would leave power in Gaza, and critically that it would give back the hostages, that it would hand over all of the hostages that it still has, living and dead. And Hamas is believed to have 48 hostages, 20 of them presumed to be still alive. And Hamas officials said that it can't logistically do that in the next 72 hours, but that it is willing to enter into negotiations so that the logistics can be worked out. In the past, when there have been ceasefires, it did take some time for Hamas to gather the hostages, to work out a handover point with the Red Cross, and to actually make that transaction take place because Gaza is so devastated. There's poor communications, there are blocked roads, there's almost no infrastructure left there. But the principle Hamas has agreed to, the two main principles, that it will leave power and that it will give over all of its hostages. And those were the two demands that Israel was asking for from the beginning. When this began almost exactly 2 years ago, Prime Minister Netanyahu said those were his main objectives: to return the hostages and remove Hamas from power. And it seems tonight that Hamas has agreed to both of those points. But yes, there are quite a few logistics that still need to be ironed out, and many things that could go wrong.
And Richard, in these moments where we're all waiting to see what happens next, what Hamas is going to say, how these negotiations, these logistics are going to go, what's happening on the ground? Is the offensive continuing? Are strikes continuing in Gaza? What's happening in Gaza today?
So the strikes have actually been intensifying over the last 24 to 48 hours. And just in the last few moments, Gotti, as we're coming on air, the strikes in Gaza are continuing, even though President Trump called on Israel to stop them immediately. Now, they could be stopping soon. Maybe they will stop by the end of the night. But as of right now, no, the war is continuing. But Prime Minister Netanyahu is already under an enormous amount of pressure, not only only from President Trump to stop these strikes, but also from the families of the hostages. The families have put out a statement welcoming this move and calling on Prime Minister Netanyahu to accept the deal, to move forward, to get the hostages out. They worry that in these last few hours, one of the hostages could get killed, that a hostage could get killed in these final last licks strikes. So until the hostages are out and until the families see them and embrace them, they certainly will not feel that this is over and that their loved ones are out of danger.
And Richard, you have seen the ebbs and the flows and the horrors of this conflict firsthand since it started. Are you optimistic that this could possibly be the beginning of the end?
Well, it depends what you call the end. I think it is the beginning of the end of this phase of the war. It could be the end of major combat operations in Gaza. Gaza is effectively destroyed. There is very little left on the Gaza Strip. According to medical officials there, at least 66,000 people have been killed, half of them women and children. There are almost no roads or communications or water lines left. So Gaza doesn't function anymore. Hamas, as a military organization, was already more or less defeated. So what is coming next for Gaza is a very difficult rebuilding process. But that is not the future that is being what is being offered to Gaza is not a future of liberty. The Gazans are not being offered statehood, independence. They are being offered a life where they are still confined to Gaza, where Israel controls a buffer zone around the entire perimeter, where supplies that go in and out of Gaza are still limited and controlled. They are leaving a war, but entering a new kind of occupation. What President Trump put forward is that a technocrat government of Palestinians, no political parties, but a technocratic government would take over, and that Gaza would be patrolled by an international security force and overseen by a board of governors with President Trump as chairman of that board. So that is not a life that you and I certainly enjoy, and it is not the life that most people around the world would expect. It is not war. They would not be facing a full-on daily military assault, but they would certainly remain more or less captive in a destroyed area with limited access to food, water, medicine, and living on top of broken infrastructure. So their future could be one that they are not being bombed every day, but it is certainly not a bright future.
Yeah, the context that you bring to all of this is always so invaluable. Richard Engel, really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.